Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my September wrap-up, which is going to be very short because I only have 2 books. I don't know what's going on. It's not a reading slump, but I'm definitely, my focus is elsewhere. So I have a violin solo in November. Nothing big, don't think it's like some grandiose concerto. It's just like a 6-minute solo for a tiny little recital. But it's the first time I do such a thing, and so I've ramped up my practice time a lot, and yeah, my focus is just elsewhere. So I haven't really been reading much, and that's continuing right now in October. So we'll see what happens. But for now, September wrap up. I only end up reading 2 books. One excellent, loved it, but I expected 2 because yeah. And then the other one was a little questionable, But yeah, let's start with the one that I absolutely loved because it was the first one I read in the month. And the thing is, like, it's a play. So I read Cyrano de Bergerac, the very super famous play about the man with the large nose who's in love with his cousin, but she's in love with this, you know, naive man. Cyrano de Bergerac, he has a very large nose, but he has a wicked tongue. He's so good with his tongue. His use of words and language and poetry and rhyme is sublime. But instead she's in love with this other man, Christian, because he's a beautiful man. She's superficial. And it turns out Cyrano and Christian are in the same troupe. Cyrano is his superior, and Cyrano decides to help Christian seduce this cousin of his by teaching him how to use his words, how to use his language. And it's humorous, and it's witty, and it's full of charm. And I love Cyrano de Bergerac. I've loved it ever since I watched the very famous movie with Gérard Depardieu, which is super highly recommended. And even read that before you read this, because you get the flow, you get the feeling, and that really helps with reading this. And I love this. And I know maybe some of you guys who are French speakers, you had to read it for school, and you're like, oh, I hate Cyrano. But it's so good. It's so good. I mean, like, it's just the flow. The flow is so good. Like the scene where Rostand is telling Cyrano about her love for this Christian, and that you know, Christian and her hadn't met yet. But she's telling Cyrano about how beautiful he is and why she's in love with him. And Cyrano is very insistent of, well, does he have anything else besides looks? And he, you know, what happens if he's an idiot? And she's like, oh, well then that would be terrible. But it's just like the flow, like, okay, I'm reading this in French, so if you can't speak French, forgive me. And my accent is awful these days since I don't get to speak it anymore. But Cyrano. Ma pauvre enfant, vous qui n'aimez que beau langage. See? I'm not used to doing this. Ma pauvre enfant, vous qui n'aimez que beau langage, bel esprit, si c'était un profane, un sauvage. Non, il a les cheveux d'un héros d'Urfé. S'il était aussi maldisant que bien coiffé. Non, tous les mots qu'il dit sont fins, je le devine. Oui, tous les mots sont fins quand la moustache est fine. I just love that. It's fantastic. So what I just said, to translate, Cyrano says, oh, my dear child, you only love beautiful language. What would happen if he spoke profanity and was a savage? She says, no, he has the hair of a hero of Urfé. And then Cyrano says, what if he was as bad as he was well coiffé, his hair, if he was as bad as good as his hair is good, basically. And she said, no, all his words are fine. I just know it. And Cyrano replies, yes, all words are fine when your mustache is as well. So it's just like, it's just so clever, and I love it. And it's just the flow and the rhythm, and it felt so good to read this. I loved it. But the thing is, like, it's a play. I should have read this in like 2 hours. It took me a week. Like, I could have read it in 2 hours, but I took my time and I really enjoyed the rhythm, and you know, I wasn't in a hurry, but still, it's just like, come on, September, like, you know, I have so much I want to read, and yeah. But in any case, I read Cyrano de Bergerac. I'm so happy. I love this. This is something I could reread over and over again because just like the movie, I love it. Fantastic. So then I went in the other direction and I read a roman noir, a thriller, murder, mystery type thing. So I read Meurtres à la cour du prince Genji by Nagao Seio. So Deaths in the Court of Genji. So Genji is basically the really famous character Genji from Murasaki Shikibu's classic The Tale of Genji, the very first novel written in the world. Just so you know, it was written in year 800 or something like that. So it's in the Heian period. But anyway, this takes all the characters from that very, very superb classic Genji, which I highly recommend, and puts them in a murder mystery. And I kind of, like, at the same time as I had fun with it, I equally hated this book. Does that make sense? Like, it felt like a very good, bad fan fiction. That's how I would describe this. So it's just like, not, like, it's, I wanted so much from this because not only does it have all the characters from Genji, which you're so familiar with Genji himself, but even the author of The Tale of Genji, Murasaki Shikibu, is also a character in this book. She is also in this book. And yet, the author, like, is very, doesn't know if he wants to make her a strong character or a very frail and weak character, which makes her character just not very, it just takes away from the charm of her. And then Genji is different in this book as well. And I don't know, like, it's just, oh, and I hated the sex scenes. The sex scenes were so bad. It was just like, yes, definitely a guy wrote these sex scenes. Definitely a man. I mean, the women were always thrown into pleasure immediately without much effort from the man. And I don't know, but I mean, like, I still had fun because it put you back into that world, which is always fascinating. It's fun. Like, there's so much you can do with that, with all, like, the great kimonos that everyone wears, and like the way the houses were built back then, with the corridors that go between the mansions, the private characters, the private carriages that have to carry you around. Like, there's so much you can do with this, but it just felt like a very good but bad fan fiction of The Tale of Genji. So I can't really recommend this, to be honest. This does not need to get translated into English. I think the translation into French is enough torture. So I did read it, but I don't really like it. So then, before I put this away, then to sort of make up for this fact, I did start reading the very famous The Gossamer Years, which is nonfiction. It's the diary of a noble woman of Heian, Japan, a woman that we don't know. We don't know who wrote this, which is interesting because the thing is, like, the people she writes about, obviously there are records for all those people, and there's records of the man she married, but for some reason there's just no record of her. No one can figure out who it actually is who wrote this, which is very, very strange. But I started reading this because this is the true story. Not the true story of this, but it's the true story of this time period. This was written in 794, and it really gives you a really, really good glimpse of sort of this world, and it's a better glimpse of this world, and almost just as fun. But I'm not finished with this. I'll be finishing this in October. For some reason, this is also taking a lot of time. I mean, granted, there are a lot of footnotes. Like, every other, like, 3 sentences, you have to turn to the back and read it. You don't have to, but I mean, there's definitely good information in the back. But yeah, in any case, I'll be finishing this in October, hopefully. If I were, I mean, I only have like 30 pages left. If I were not to finish this, that'd be kind of pathetic. In any case, that's it. That's the video for today. That's all I have. I'm way behind schedule in terms of videos. I mean, falling on my face did not help. And then skipping last week for no apparent reason. Well, no, not no apparent reason. I was busy. I was not available during sunlight hours to film. But yeah, so in that case, if you're watching this video in about an hour, I will be uploading yet another video. So you will have 2 videos this weekend. To make up for the fact that I didn't post this video last week. In any case, thanks for watching, and I'll see you very, very, very soon in an hour with my next video. Bye!